Today's reading is Dick Tracy in Hot Water. Detective Dick Tracy was getting ready to leave his apartment when the kid tugged on his arm. The kid was a nameless orphan Tracy had befriended. The kid could be his name. "What is it, kid?" asked Tracy as he was shaving. "Let me come with you on the job," the kid said. The detective said, "Hey, most kids your age aren't even allowed to stay home alone, much less hang around with cops." Before he left, Tracy handed the kid a baseball. "I'll be back later. Try to keep out of trouble until then," he said. The kid took the baseball, but he still looked unhappy. Wow, a baseball by himself. Such fun. Tracy looked down at the orphan's face and shook his head. "I'm sorry, kid," he said. "The welfare department called, and anyway, you—" Tracy was interrupted by a loud knock on the apartment door. On the other side of the door, Itchy and Flat Top, two vicious thugs, were waiting for Tracy to open up. But Tracy never took dumb chances, so before he answered the door, he asked who it was. "That's just common sense." "It's Mrs. Scaff from the welfare department," said Itchy, imitating a woman's voice. When he heard that, the kid ran into the bedroom and scrambled into his clothes. The kid stuffed the baseball into his pocket and took Tracy's wallet off the dresser. Then he climbed out of the bedroom window and onto the fire escape. The little thief! It was cold and rainy outside, but the kid said to himself, "I'd rather be cold and wet on my own than warm and dry in an orphanage." Then he bolted down the fire escape and into an alley. At that moment, Tracy opened his door to let Mrs. Scaff in, but instead of seeing the middle-aged woman he had expected, Tracy found himself facing two scowling gunmen. If only he had a peephole. "We don't want no kid, coppa," snarled Flat Top, pointing his gun at Tracy. "We want you." Meanwhile, down in the alley, the kid had just removed the money from Tracy's wallet. As he stuffed the bills into his pocket, he noticed Tracy's badge pinned to the inside of the billfold. He stared at the badge, then up at Tracy's apartment. Tracy was an all-right guy. The kid stood there for a moment, a lump starting to form in his throat. "Come on, kid, do the right thing." As the kid was about to run off, he suddenly saw the two thugs hustling Tracy into a big car waiting at the curb. The kid realized at once that Tracy had been tricked. Maybe they're Mrs. Scaff's goons. Without giving it a second thought, the kid jumped onto the car's back bumper. He held on tight as the powerful car sped off down the rain-soaked street. A short while later, Itchy and Flat Top shoved Tracy into a dark basement. They pushed him toward a grinning man who was cracking a walnut with his bare hand. Ooh, strong. He was Big Boy Caprice, the toughest gangster in town. Tracy didn't know what was going to happen, but Big Boy just smiled and pulled a roll of bills from his pocket. "All yours, Tracy. I want you on my side," he said. Dick Tracy took the money and said, "This is a lot of dough, Big Boy." Big Boy smiled. He was sure that the tough cop would take the bribe. Tracy looked at the money and then back at Big Boy. He smiled grimly. "And you are guilty of attempting to bribe an officer of the law," he cried. With that, he threw the money in the vicious gangster's face. "I knew he wouldn't take the bribe." "You dumb cop," snarled Big Boy. "You're going to have a terrible accident." "That looks more like murder to me." Flat Top and Itchy tied Tracy to a chair near the furnace. Dick Tracy looked toward the furnace and saw Itchy near the safety valve with a wrench in his hands. "You got the idea, tough guy," said Big Boy. "After Itchy busts that valve, the furnace will explode and make this place look like chop suey." "I love chop suey." "So long, sucker," added Big Boy as he headed for the stairs. "You should have made a deal." Without another word, Itchy smashed the valve with the wrench. A few moments later, the furnace started to shake as the water pressure built up. Then Itchy and Flat Top left laughing. Tracy suddenly saw the kid. He was outside, peering through the grimy window. "Kid," Tracy yelled, "get out of here. This place is going to blow." Although he was frightened, the kid took the baseball out of his pocket and threw it at the window. Good thing Tracy gave him that baseball. The blow shattered the glass, sending jagged pieces flying into the basement. The kid climbed through the window and jumped to the floor. The furnace was now rattling so hard that the whole basement was trembling. The kid felt the sweat roll down his face as he tried to cut Tracy's ropes with a piece of sharp glass. "Come on, kid, you can do it." The kid's heart was beating wildly and his lungs were burning as boiling steam filled the room. Then finally Tracy felt the glass cut through the ropes and he was free. But at the same moment the furnace gave off a very loud rumble. That doesn't sound good. Tracy and the kid scrambled for the door just as they felt the whole floor shudder under their feet. They wondered if they were going to get out of there in time. Tracy and the kid flew up the basement stairs two at a time and made it out the door. They ran into the street just as the furnace exploded with a tremendous roar. Yes! As they lay stunned by the explosion, Dick Tracy realized that the kid had saved his life. "You're all right, kid," Tracy said. The kid looked at him for a moment and then shook his head. "Gee, Tracy, you turned down Big Boy's money. It looked like a lot of dough." "I think the kid would have taken the money." Tracy struggled to his feet and said, "Taking bribes is a crime, kid, and crime doesn't pay." "Which is what Big Boy and his bullies are going to find out very shortly," he added. That evening in Tracy's office, Chief of Police Brandon praised the kid for his bravery and presented him with an honorary detective certificate. Ooh, a certificate. Where's he going to put it? He has no home. Tracy's girlfriend, Tess Trueheart, was there as well, and she smiled as Tracy looked on proudly. "Congratulations, pal," said Tracy as he pinned a detective's badge on the kid's jacket. The kid looked up with an eager expression in his eyes. "Does this mean I can be a cop just like you?" he asked. Tracy cleared his throat and looked serious. The kid's heart fell as he waited for the answer he knew was coming. "Come on, Tracy, humor the boy." But suddenly Tracy grinned and said, "Sure, kid, I need all the good men I can get." "That's the spirit, Tracy." The kid puffed up his chest and beamed, but Tracy wagged a finger at him. No more rides in the backs of cars or throwing baseballs through windows. That is, unless you're rescuing a fellow officer, Tracy said. Why else would he do that? Now let's go over to Mike's Diner to celebrate. Then Dick Tracy, Tess Trueheart, and the kid walked out the door and into the night. Dick Tracy in hot water, thumbs in the middle,